Add a little bit of hasbara here, trying to understand what is the whole endeavor here. This is a big subject in Chassidus, that tzimtzum b'shvil hagilui, havayu holikim, and it's a avodah gedolah to explain it in kol minei fanim different ways. The nakuda is, the chiddush here is, that before Chassidus, the point is the opposite. The perspective was the opposite, namely that dafke, there's the separation between Shamayim va'aretz. Shamayim is where godliness is revealed. This world is where godliness is concealed. And the reason we're here is to overcome it and earn our place up there. So there is dafka to realities. There's Olam Haba and Olam Hazeh. And Olam Hazeh is merely an antechamber, as the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos, to prepare oneself or earn oneself a place in the Olam Haba. What's the whole ufta of Chassidus? Lifnei, before Mashiach comes, is revealed that the kavanah pnimi is, that's the external kavanah. The kavanah pnimi is the roza d'shmei, it's heaven on earth, which means is to reveal, as he said at the end of the ois we just learned yesterday, that mamala kol almin, to use the simple language, mamala kol almin, which is oiris b'kelim, should experience seviv kol almin, heaven on earth, which in other words, it should be experienced, the emes, that where God is concealed, He's as much revealed as where He's revealed. He's as much present, and it's equally Him as where He's revealed. Havayu holikim. That's a tremendous chiddush that is all rooted in, or rather an expression of, the great revolution of Chassidus, that Nisav HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Medesh Tanchuma, Eliyas Loi, Yisbarich Dire B'tachtoinim. There's two chidushim there. Ein is Aven Bi Tachten. And both were completely not possible to even entertain before Chassidus came along. God should have a need, that's heresy, and that the kavanah should be the tachten, that's nonsense. It's foolishness. The kavanah is obviously the intent, the objective for the soul, for life, is to earn a place in paradise in the hereafter. Everybody agrees with that. You just disagree with what the hereafter is. But every and all religions, that's a given. It's just nonsense to consider otherwise. And along came Chassidus and his Megala, that Atzmos, beyond all Gedorim, beyond all limitations, can choose to desire and crave and have a need. And the Eibishter chose, and what did he need? A dir b'tachtoin, which means a dwelling place within us, here dafka ne'elam hazeh. That is a huge revolution that requires all these Maimarim and the great spiritual labor that the Rebbe and the Rebbeim labored in being mamshech and megala this in Torah. It has to be seen in Torah, first and foremost. And the seichel of Nefesh Alikis has to understand it, Nefesh Abamis has to understand it, because that's all integral to Dir B'tachtoinim. So we're all the fortunate beneficiaries of all of this. So now it's already said, Dir B'tachtoinim, that of course could have been the other way. Well, for a long time this was not entertainable. It wasn't like there was a shita and there's no. Kavan is the Eliyah. It's not entertainable because I said the notion that God could need is heresy, superficially, and that the Kavan should be the Tachten, that is illogical. The intent is the higher, not the lower. Bigger is better than smaller, and infinite is certainly greater than finite. That's tongue-in-cheek, but I really mean where God's revealed, heaven, that's where it's at. Paradise. Nothing higher than that. So all that is true, mitzad ishtalshalus, mitzad the inyan of Havaya and Elikim, as God deliberately manifested these two revelations, creating a hierarchy of higher and lower, madreges, further, distant, korev. The psukim speak of being close from God, far from God. That's how he created the system. Comes the big chiddush at the end, before Mashiach comes. It's all him, and the kavan is dafke in the rochik, dafke in the tachten. So Chaim asked yesterday to come up with the moshel. I mean, the Meshalem in Chassidus, what did he say in this last ois? That the oid itself latently contains the gvul, the keich hagvul, and the keich hagvul has within the Shem Havaya Gilui already in it. It's not just concealment. It already has the potential for absolute revelation, and the keich and the Shem Havaya, which is all about revelation, already has within it the union of tzimtzum and kelim. So the moshel, not exactly brought into this, but the following is brought. The Rabbi brings in the h'tshk is that when the father hides, he wants to play with his child hide and seek, so he's hiding. So even while he's hiding, what's the kavanah? The child should find him. It's not something else. He's hidden, and the child discovered him. The whole reason he hid in the first place is the child should search for him and find him and discover him. Okay, pasha to marshal. That in the tzimtzum, the kavanah is the gilui. What about in the gilui, the kavanah is the tzimtzum? So if we take this marshal, although this doesn't say bring this part of the marshal, but the beginning of the game, so how does it start? You know, the father is there. You can only start if you're present, and then you go into hiding. So when he's present to start the game, why is he present? Because I'm going to go into hiding. So you'll find me. So even his revelation at the outset of this whole relationship, there at the gilui, the kavanah was, I'm going to go into hiding, and you're going to find me. Okay, that's one moshel. And then maybe a moshel of a Rav and a Talmud, which is not, I haven't seen this anywhere in Chassidus either, except for the general idea. Chassidus always brings the Rav and the Talmud. And that is, or maybe a father and a child. Because of the father's love for the child, so the relationship begins with beyond Rav. So we'll start with father. So he wants his child to learn, to understand. So what is this? So he's a great master, the father. So what does he do? So he wants him to understand a particular subject. All these mishalim are flawed, but just help us a little bit. Upon him, so what does he do? So he delves into the subject. The father first, and masters it. Now the way the master masters it is totally beyond the way he understands it. It's not conveyable and totally beyond the ken of the Talmud. It's believable relative to the Talmud, totally beyond him. But why is he doing it? Why is he getting involved in the subject? Because he wants to convey it ultimately to his child, even though at that stage, the way the idea is within the Rav, it's completely beyond. So that is how in the Gilui, Havaya is the yin of Shem Elikim. The kavanah of him getting involved in this subject in his deep and profound ways that ultimately convey it to the Talmud, his child. Is that clear? And therefore also, when he gives it over, he gives it over in the end in a very limited way with the Meshalim, etc. But after 40, what's the kavanah? The kavanah is that it will take a long time, but after Boim Shnin, 40 years, the child will understand and grasp it as the master does, as the father does. So in the Helem is the Gilui, latently. Okay, somewhat of an explanation. But as we pointed out in the past, Chassidus is an interesting. On the one hand, we're talking about God. That's all Chassidus talks about. And on the other hand, you can completely forget about God, even learning Chassidus. How is that possible? We're talking about Elikus, because one can get lost in levels, dargis, and words and language, and forget, just step back a second. What are we talking about here? We're talking about the Eibishter, who has one thing, thank God, he revealed to us. He has this singular desire, this essential, chosen craving to have a relationship with me. And that's why all of this is happening. So it's all needs to be understood in the context of Hashem's desire for God. It's God. It's not, there's not 1,000 gods here. Havaya and Elikim and Dargas Mata Maila. It's one Eibishter revealing himself, relating to us in this whole. It is an elaborate process, but modes of expression. But it's all one God for one purpose. So some of you have to step back a little bit. What are we talking about here? Because it's very easy to get lost, especially the nuance of Dargis, as we are here. And it becomes, I don't know what, disembodied divinity. Okay? That's why it's always helpful, very helpful, to have the McGill student sit and listen. He just wants to, you're talking about God, eh? So tell me, what are you saying about him? Can't fool him. Okay, Eizvav. Yeah, v'yesh lekasher. I want to repeat again, it's not the only explanation, but the labor, it's an incredible labor that the Rabbeim labored, and the Rebbe in this Maamar, every Maamar, to explain Havaya Elikim is because ostensibly it's not so. Havaya reveals him and Tzimtzum removes him. Siluk Eirei HaGodel HaTzad. That's the language of the Yitzchayim. Even in Kabbalah. And there's a Tachten and there's an Elyon. And the point is the Elyon. The Elyon is truth, the Tachten's a lie. The Zohar, Elam Habaz Alma, the Kshoit, and this world is Alma the Shikra. So why are we in this false world? To escape it, to overcome it, to get away from it, earn a place up there. So there are two realities. Al Pitoida, I'm just quoting the Zohar now. Zohar, Kabbalah. Siluk Reid HaGolda Latzad, they made a Makam Cholol in that. It's Mamish the Alter Rebbe in Tanya, at the end of Gol is Mamish. Whoa. All true, mitzad, the system, mitzad Giluyim, close, far. But the ultimate kavanah is Dafke, the Tachten, and the fusion. It's a huge revolution. Tremendous resistance by Malachim and Torah resistance and G'dolim and even other Chassidus. So each Maamar is Amshacha, revealing it in Torah and the nuance of Psukim and stories and halachas again and again and again. And once it's grasped, we look through the Rebbe's lenses. Eventually, it's everywhere. That of course, it's about here. It's about the Guf Gashmi. Hopefully it becomes obvious to us. And it resonates with us, with this generation so deeply, it does. Because now is the time when this truth has to be revealed. And nothing else cuts it. The old model of earn your place in heaven doesn't talk to anybody anymore. You tell me it's here and I'm needed in a relationship, that talks. Because now's the time. Now's the time. We spent a long time building the dira, now we're ready to live in it. God's ready to live in it, share himself with us and us with him. Yesh lekashes in Mashakosov Kishemesh and Magan Havaya Elikim. So the pasuk says that Havaya Elikim is likened to the sun and the sheath around the sun. Or Mamshir Bakosov, the pasuk continues and says as follows. This is not often quoted. We usually just quote the first part of the pasuk. But Chein v'koved yitin havaya, God will give grace and glory. Lo yimna toiv l'holchem b'tomim. He will not withhold good from those that go wholeheartedly. Beautiful statement. But what's the connection to the beginning of the pasuk? What's the connection between the beginning of the pasuk with its conclusion? He will not withhold good for those who go betmimus, wholeheartedly, in simplicity and sincerity. But the Inyan is this it says in Zoyar, a very startling statement. Kishemesh u'mogen avay likim do bris kaddish. This shemesh u'mogen avay likim, this pasuk is referring to the Holy Covenant. The bris, pasha the bris. It just occurred to me now. I mean, I looked up the Zohar. It doesn't say what I'm going to tell you. I'll tell you what it does say. I'll tell you what it says. Pretty strong words here. So first I'll tell you what it says in Zohar. Just read the whole thing. The Zohar says, there's a whole Adichas here. There are three that push away the Shekhinah and cause that he should not dwell in the world. And they cry and they're davening and Hashem doesn't listen. Who are the three? The one who lies with the niddah, and strong words about that. And then he adds, he calls his machlis rois and his children. The second thing is relations with the Gentile Goya, that the Bris Kodesh, it goes into Reshus Acheres, and it's whole Arichas here. Don't read it because it's very strong. And then he goes on to say that the leaders who know about this and they do not rebuke them are punished first. The Moishe with this week's Parsha, Pinchas. Next week's Parsha is Pinchas. So then he says, that's all Akdome. Rabbi Abba Omar, in the story of Pinchas, so they're all held up against the sun. You know the story there. So with the cloud parted and the sun shone, this person was the guilty one, right? Rashi, you know the story? Yeah. So this sun, this is the Shemesh Mogen Avay Likim. That's the Bris Kodesh. And the Zohar says, just like the sun illuminates the world, so to the Bris HaKodesh illuminates the body of a person. And it's called a Mogen because it protects him. Like the shield around the sun. So the Bris protects a Mogen ala Adam. And if he doesn't have that, so then he's exposed to the Shemesh and so on. Also could be, Pasha, the Bris is a removal of the Orla, the Priya, that's the Mogen. Maybe that's an obvious connection. Akoponim, the emphasis here is as follows. Let's go back to the Maimer. This is Bezoya, ki Bris, ki Shemesh Mogen Avay Likim, do Bris Kaddish. What's the Inyan of Bris? The Inyan of Bris is Kashros v'chibur afachim. So Bris is about connection and the fusion of opposites, male and female, becoming one. There could be no greater opposites. Shizeh, and that's why she ayisoid nikra koil. What do we say? We enumerate all of the midas, and then we, after Hoid comes, kechel b'shamayim v'oretz. So it says in Zohar, why? And this is a reference to Yesoid. The Achid, Bishmai v'Arav, because what does Yesoid do? It fuses opposites, Shamayim v'Aretz, that's Zoh and Malchus, male and female, and therefore it's called koil, because it makes them one. It's colorless. Clear? That's why Kikil B'Shemaim V'Aretz is a reference rather to Yesod. So what does it mean? So what does the pasuk say? The pasuk is talking about the unity. At the simple level, it's not. It's two things here. One's Havai, one's Elikim. But he's saying that the pasuk is saying is revealing that the pasuk is talking about the unity. Again, laboring here. So it's understood. If it's all one, therefore the concealment of Shem Elikim, it's not for the sake of concealment per se. So why is there a Magin? In order that Shem Havaya be revealed in Oilimis. That's Havaya de la Sata, which is before. Shari Luli at Tzimtzum, like the Yitzchaim said, without the Tzimtzum, there couldn't be creation. The fish ate in Sof, as we quoted earlier, because of the outset, Erin Sof filled this vacuum, whatever that means. Pulas Hamogin, so what's the point of the Tzimtzum? Shegam Be'elamis Yechali is Hagila the Shem Havaya. That in the Eilimis there should be also Shem Havaya. True, at the outset it's only shame. But through Torah and mitzvahs, we revealed the Raza the Shem. That was stated earlier, right? The Kavanah Pinimis of it all. That's what we're saying till now. That the Tzimtzum itself, and the Moishe we just gave, right? We gave two Mishalim. It's already included the Gilui. The fish at Tzimtzum Bishvil HaGilui. The whole reason that the Tzimtzum is because Eivishter wants us to know him. Being a Gilui, Kol Gamin at Tzimtzum, and in the Gilui itself is not Gilui for the sake of Gilui. Again, in the Moshel we gave that the master is the subject, is all because he wants to ultimately convey it to the Talmud. The whole point is the Gilui should be tailored, so therefore the Gilui itself already latently has, meaning the Kavanah. Why is this master getting involved in his subject? Because he wants to give it over to the Talmud, even though the way he masters it at that point is totally beyond the Talmud's ken. Or the example we gave earlier of the game, it's a mashal of the Magid, the hide and seek, and the components of that quote-unquote game, the father and son. Yeah? So let's go a bit further. Magin David. So this is the Indian of Magin. Where do we say Magin Avraham, of course? Huh? Yeah. Where do we say Magin David? Baruch atah Hashem Magin David. Yeah, Naftaira. So the shield of Avram, the shield of David. That's how David is described. Yeah, B'shekoseh David, as the pasuk says in Shmuel, Vasisi l'Hashem Gadol Kishem Hagdolim Hashem Ba'aretz. God promised He'll make him a great name like the great ones that lived. Who are they? And where do we see that Hashem made him the great name? In other words, put him on par with the great ones that lived earlier. The Darsha Chazal says the Gemara says in Psachim. That's what we say in the Haftarah. We say Magin David. That puts him on par with who? With the greatest of the great ones, Avraham. Who are the great ones? Him Avraham, Yitzchak, and Ya'akov. So this is what the Eibush is telling David. Just like we conclude the bracha with Magin Avraham, you're going to be equal with the great ones, and we'll conclude on a regular day. We can conclude the Haftarah with Magin David. The bracha concludes that way, but even if it doesn't mean so much that the bracha is later. We don't say Magin David and who others, just David. Yeah. So what do we see here? What is he bringing this for? It talks about shame. I'm going to make you a great name like I made the same as the great ones. Who are the great ones? Avraham, the Bechlal, the Avos, and particularly Avraham. So the Eibush is making this equation between David and Avraham. Yeah, Vinyan Bazeh. So the Inyan is. Maybe we'll stop here and we'll continue Beis Hashem on Monday. Yeah. So, okay. So some clarity over yesterday. Gentlemen, some feedback.
So is there a tzir in Oyer? Or is there a kavona in Oyer?
I think you missed the beginning of the shir. If you listen to the beginning of the shir, we gave two mashalim. As per your
I was here. I was here, but I was here. But so the question is, I heard the mashalim. The shaila is, I'm just thinking now, is there a tzir or there's a kavona?
Same thing. If there's a kavana, therefore there's a tzir. Hainahach.
Okay.
Latently there's a tzir. Not begoli, but latently. Yep. Yeah.
But that's only in Oyer, not in Etzem.
It's because of the etzem that there can be a tzir in the Oyer. Because of the etzem.
Because so the Oyer is just like the Oyer, even though it's Oyer, it has the same properties like Etzem.
Yeah. So again, because the whole point of Hashem revealing an infinite power is that we know Him. That's the whole kavanah to begin with. Therefore, already conveyed in the Oyer is containment and experience, internalized experience by us.
So in the Oyer, it's expressing what Etzem really has. Etzem doesn't express. Oyer expresses. So Oyer is expressing the two properties of Etzem. That has the power.
Yeah.
Etzem has the power to reveal and has the power to conceal. And in Oyer, which is what we're speaking about, it's expressed, these two things, in Gilui and in Helam.
Yeah. We're going to conclude the story